Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech protected.
Local news, politics, business, sports, arts, music. Mike and Marty on the beat. Mike and Marty. Mike and Marty.
Hello, Rockingham and Bellows Falls. Welcome to the feed. It's Mike Smith and Marty Gallagher. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We're back.
We are back.
And hitting the pavement running in 2022.
That's right. It's 2022. It's going to be a busy year. We're going to start off today with some important things about Rockingham elections. If anybody gets a chance, Betsy Thurston, who is one of our local contributors, put an article in the Vermont Journal this week about elected positions open in Rockingham. So if you get interested in this show, check out her article, because there's a lot of positions open, and you need to get on board pretty much right now to get
because you have to have
involved.
everything in by the 24th.
Right. But there's plenty of positions open and plenty of opportunities for people who want to be part of the solution.
Perfect.
Right. Marty, local events.
Local events. So the movie this week, and Mike is very excited about this because he's actually seen it and probably is going to go 3 or 4 more times.
I think I'll at least go one more time.
Is West Side Story. So it's playing Friday night, Friday, January 7th through Tuesday, January 11th. The shows on Friday, Monday, and Tuesday are at 7 p.m. And then Saturday and Sunday they do a 3 o'clock matinee and then the traditional 7 p.m. show.
And I can't say too many good words about this because it's just, I didn't think it would show in Bellows Falls, so I went to see it. And it was amazing. It's Steven Spielberg's adaptation, but it really goes back to the original Broadway show more than the movie, and then it actually brings in a lot of context around what was happening in New York at the time that they were tearing down the slums because they were building the Lincoln Center and all these things. So it's a real interesting movie. And
I love the music. So.
Yeah, great. Anyone who was ever in band. Especially in my generation, you played all of those songs. Yeah, you went to band camp and you played songs from West Side Story. So, it was pretty cool.
And the classic movie tonight is The Beatles, A Hard Day's Night, and that's sponsored by JP Trucking. Speaking of a hard day's night, maybe that sums up
That's a good segue.
The
Here
lister's
we go.
job. So we have the 3 current Rockingham listers with us today. We have Camilla Roberts, Paul Noble, and Paula Bohoski. And we're going to start with Camilla, and she's going to tell us a little bit about the scope of the lister's work. Welcome, Camilla.
Yes. Hi. I am retiring this year. I am not renewing my election on, it's a 3-year term. I came in 2004 as a lister. I knew nothing. I came from a dairy farm background. And the learning curve was long. It's a fascinating job. And my primary reason for doing it was to be engaged with the community. And that it does do. This is a really interesting way to be involved in your community. Ultimately, the purpose of being a lister is be part of the 3-person team that basically manages and maintains and follows all the property tax programs regarding the grand list. And its whole point is to be fair and treat everyone equally in the value, which is the basis of your taxes. It is technical, and there's a lot of math, and I was not a math person when I set up to do this job, not at all. I have become much more comfortable with all of that, and because there's so much training, I just kept doing the trainings and have over the years reached a level of the Vermont certification for being an assessor or an appraiser at level 3. I'm one shy of being a so-called master in Vermont, and that's it. I am very grateful to this community for doing this. I love working with the public. There's a lot of that. It's important to help people navigate this property tax system. It's complicated, head spinning, in fact, sometimes, even for us listers, but Fortunately, there's a lot of support with the state property valuation and review and all these trainings to really make it work and be effective.
So I'm a kind of novice as to exactly, I mean, I understand on a certain level what the listers do. So are you more of an advocate for the taxpayer or more of a liaison between between the housing owner and the person paying the taxes and the town collecting the taxes?
Well, honestly, there's a balance going on all the time. The grand list serves the whole community because the whole tax base serves all the community to keep all the services going. So it's important that the whole grand list is well managed, timely, keeps up to date, all that stuff. So, however, we're elected by our fellow citizens, and we need to take very seriously each individual value, each individual situation, help individuals navigate their homesteads, for example, or if they are qualified for a veterans exemption, or apply the current use components that are locally valued and so forth. So we help people navigate. We are committed to individual equity within the large community equity as a whole. So we are always working on the balance of individual to community.
Nice, nice.
So a lot of the things that you do is establishing the value of the properties. Is that correct?
That's the keystone. That's Grand Central. That's where it all comes down to, the piece of the pie and the whole grand list for every individual property.
Right.
But there are methods to do that make it very rational and logical comparing to sales.
So one of the things we're trying to do today is interest people in applying, or you don't really apply for this position, do you? You have to get elected, so you have a strange application process. But you have 2 people out of the 3 people that are retiring. So is that a huge that is a huge turnover, isn't it? Or when was the last time that this level of change was being made in the lister's office? Is a question I would ask.
I don't think there's ever been 2 at one time since I came into this. It's usually 1. There's always one person being reelected every single year for a 3-year term.
Oh, okay. So it's sort of like, normally it's sort of like a rotation, that one person would come up for reelection, and they may or may not be opposed in that election process.
Right.
Yeah. So Paul, tell us a little bit. You're going to be the person left over, Paul Noble. I'm sorry, because there's 2 Pauls too. How did you ever handle that? So Paul Noble, tell us a little bit about the opportunities that a lister has. Why should people be interested in doing this?
Well, I think Camilla pretty well described what we do up to a point. We are servants of the community, and we work really for the individual taxpayers. And as Camilla has pointed out, we stress the term equity. Equity, we would think, was limited to equity within the town, and that's not exactly correct. We create equity in the value of the properties in the town of Rockingham. However, if you look at your tax bills, you'll notice that the education tax is one of the largest segments of the tax burden. So we not only create equity within the town, but we also very careful that the equity carries forward to the state level to protect or to guarantee our citizens that they are only being asked to pay their fair share of the overall education burden. So that's critical to what we do. We do everything that Camilla says about helping people. I would say we spend 60% of our actual time helping the taxpayers with questions, some of them simple and some of them not. my assignment for this was to talk about careers. I find this job to be extremely exciting. I took it on when I retired, and I'm one of those people who can't not work. It drives me crazy to be at home, so I need something to do. And with that in mind, there are a lot of folks out there who have spare time in their day, and this job is extremely attractive to those people. I often think of the lady who has children. They go to school in the morning, they come back in the afternoon. Well, those are the hours that we work. So, and a person who's looking to subsidize their income in that realm would be extremely useful. The other thing is a student who's studying in one of the local colleges and taking night courses. It's a pretty well-paid job, very, very interesting, and you will learn an incredible amount about the way government works, and actually you're going to be part of it. The question as to the relationship to the town is interesting. We're somewhat autonomous. We function as a board. We function independent of the select board, independent of the town manager, but we work very closely with these people. They do not tell us what to do. We only value property. We don't set taxes. We don't collect taxes. All we do is guarantee that whatever happens is equitable throughout the community. The training is what you want to make of it. Basically, there's a basic training program that lasts, I think now, somewhere around 2 days. By the time you finish what they call basic lister training, you will pretty much understand what goes on. And then there is training that can carry you for years into the positions which demand more mathematics and a better understanding of how property is valued. That's up to the candidate. You make this job what you want it to be. And as far as futures go, I know I'm a great proponent that there is a career opportunity. Well, obviously, Camilla's made it a career, having been here 18 years, and now she's moving on. She works for the state of Vermont as a hearing officer, and the credentials she's gained in Rockingham have set her up to do that. It's a very, very challenging job. So we understand why Camilla's leaving. She's very busy doing state work, and you can't be servant to 2 jobs all the time. It's very difficult. I know Camilla's a Vermont appraiser grade 3, which is way up there quite a ways. She said she's 1 course short of the master's rating. I have the master's rating, and I'm currently finishing my national rating. So it'll take you where you want to go.
How many hours a week? What's the commitment in hours per week?
Generally speaking, most of us work between 16 and 20 hours a week. Generally, that's roughly 4 days. We start at roughly 8 o'clock, go to noon. Lots of flexibility in this job. Since there are 3 of us, you can take a day off, you can take an hour off, you can go do something, come back, and your position is covered by the other 2. It works very well. Gives us a lot of personal freedom. There's nobody punching clocks. And so that's basically what it is.
Oh, so Paul Obahowski, you're relatively the new kid on the block in this job. You've been there 4 years. and you're retiring now. What would you say a person would need for experience if they wanted to do this? What background should they have, and what should they be looking forward to?
Well, I kind of believe there are certain skills that you really need, that the background really doesn't matter a whole lot. I really came from a manufacturing background, where Camilla came from a farming background. So overall, the background really, I think the skills that you really need are really good communication skills. You have to be a real excellent listener. A lot of times we have taxpayers come in with thinking that they need an answer to this question, but that's not really the question that you need to answer for them. It's a different question. So I think really good communication skills, and again, being an excellent listener is probably most important. We do right now, there's a lot of personal contact. There is a great deal of contact through email. There's a great deal of contact through the phone. So I think it's a combination of being able to communicate not only face to face, but certainly through email and on the phone. I think the other skill that you really need to have is that you need to be able to react pretty timely. You really need to, if you don't know the answer, it's real simple. You say, hey, I really don't know, but my other two listers will be in tomorrow, and we're going to have an answer for you tomorrow, and tomorrow have the answer for them and get right back to them. I think there is a need for some basic math skills, certainly some basic computer skills. Again, I think there's the skill of being organized and following through is another real important skill to have. And with the amount of information that we deal with, having the attention to detail is really, really critical, because there are, just looking at lister cards and the information you're putting in, you have to be right on with it, or it really affects the value of the property. Mm-hmm. I kind of came into it after serving 35 years on the Board of Civil Authority. So I walked in with a little bit of a leg up, I would think, because I certainly knew how to read the lister cards. I had gone through 2 townwide reappraisals, so I had done a lot of going out in the community, going to people's homes, looking at the homes, and looking at the lister card and saying, yes, this is correct, or no, it's not. So, but as Paul has said, there is a great deal of training that is offered by the state. So walking in, the first 2 or 3 days, or within a couple of weeks of being a lister or elected as a lister, the state of Vermont runs a number of programs, and it's introduction to new listers. That's like a 2 or 3 day course. And then after that, they about every 2 or 3 months, there is another option for training with them. And it's a combination, again, of both. Before COVID, it was, go to Rutland or White River Junction for an all-day training on a certain topic. Now it's more, you can Zoom to all of these meetings. But I think those are really kind of the basic skills that you really need to be a lister.
Yeah. So Paul, there's something, the unique thing about this job is you need to be elected to it. Can you talk a little bit about what needs to be done? Like if someone is watching us right now, what should they be doing right now if they wanted to get elected to be a lister?
All right, so there's probably really 3 different methods to becoming a lister, being elected. 2 of them are being elected. One of them would be being appointed by the select board if the position isn't filled. So right now, what a person who's interested in becoming a lister would need to do, they need to go to the town clerk's office, take out a petition, let the town clerk know that you're interested in the lister's position. You need 30 signatures on that petition. Those signatures need to be people who are registered voters in the town of Rockingham. You have until January 24th at 5 p.m. to get your petition back to the town clerk. She goes through and verifies the signatures. And then on March 1st at town meeting, or the vote of town meeting, that's where the voters come into the Masonic Temple and vote. The second way would be not to fill out the petition and run as a write-in. And to me, that's the way I got elected the first time. Is I stood in front of the polls all day long, the day of town meeting elections, with a sign that said, you know, I'm Paula Bohosky, I'm running as a write-in for the lister's position, and received enough votes, which is again 30 votes, to be elected to the board. The third possibility would be that you don't make up your mind, or you don't get your petition in, and out of the 2 positions that need to be filled, either none of them get filled or only one of them gets filled. And then what will end up happening is that the select board will end up appointing for a 1-year term a member to represent to go onto the board of listers. So that would be the third, but to me that would be the least popular way to do it. I think it's really up, if you're really interested in this, it's real simple. Go get your petition. I would go to recycling on a Saturday morning, let people know coming in, make sure they're voters of the town of Rockingham, and probably in an hour or a couple hours, you'd have your petition filled.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So we're down to 3 minutes. So are there some closing thoughts that you would each, just a quick closing thought that you want to send out to people that are considering it? We'll start with Camilla.
Yes, all that training we talked about, it's all free. It's not going to cost anybody anything. The state supports it. Just a follow up to understand that you're not going to be putting out money in order to learn how to do this job.
Perfect.
Okay, Paul?
I've been in all kinds of businesses, some of them public service, and my main occupation has been in engineering and the machine tool business. But I will tell you that this has been the most fun job I've ever had. If you like people, this is the bag for you to get into. And as Obi says, the big thing, you don't have to say much, you have to listen a lot.
Nice.
Great. Paul? Paul too?
I guess what I would say is that if we do have people that are interested and want to know more about this, it's real simple. Just call down the lister's office or email us, and we'll set up a Zoom meeting to talk in greater detail about roles, responsibilities, and so on. And this is the second thing I would say. This is a really, really important job for the community, and but it's a job, especially with Paul staying on and kind of being the leader, and then Camilla staying on as a consultant. It's not going to be that you're going to walk in and be overwhelmed.
All right.
Nice. Perfect.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Thank you for coming on. I encourage everyone to contact them and ask them about the job, especially if you're interested. It sounds like a very interesting job. So like I think
an interesting job and a good opportunity, maybe for someone that is kind of in between, really wanting to know what they're going to really, wanting a full-time job, not sure what they want to do. There's not the pressure I don't think there's the same pressure sometimes when you're on the select board, because you guys are autonomous. Yes, you are dealing with the public, but you kind of have your own gig going on. So I would highly encourage, if you're even remotely interested, reach out.
Yeah. All right. And I think that's it for this week.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching the feed, and we'll see you next week.
Next week.
It's Mike and Marty. Bye.
Thank you.
Hello.
Local news, politics, sports, arts, music, Mike and Mike.